Welcome to the Music Festivals podcast. This is the show that helps you get to know music festivals, festival venues, and campgrounds before you go. I'm your host, Neighbor Nate, and I'm glad you're in the neighborhood. Welcome back, neighbors, to episode number 55 of the Music Festivals podcast. This is the show that helps you get to know music festivals, festival venues, and campgrounds before you go. And as always, I am your host, Neighbor Nate. And this week, we are recapping the Grassfire Festival that happened July 3rd through the 6th. That's over Independence Day weekend. And that was at Nelson Ledges Quarry Park up in Garrettsville, Ohio. Grassfire and then Grateful Fest in 2024 was actually the first time I went to a festival and attempted doing the documentary style coverage. So it was really good to be back this year with better cameras and more familiarity of the venue and just a little bit more experience. It was a lot of fun. So we're going to get into all that in here in just a second. But before we do that, I do want to give a shout out to our partner, D-Law Coffee Company, owned by Drury Anderson of Mountain Grass Unit. You can visit dlawcoffeecompany.com and check out their Heady Breakfast Blend as well as the Heady Breakfast Plus to add more caffeine to your morning cup. And if you're into flavor coffee like I am, you can get a bag of Mr. Charlie's Cinnabon, best name of coffee ever. Grab yours today at dlawcoffeecompany.com. D-Law Coffee Company, fuel the music.
Hey y'all, it's Drury from D-Law Coffee Company.
Let's take it from the beginning. Hi, my name is Drury Anderson, and I'm a 21-year-old musician from Alabama. Music has always been a part of me, and I'm super lucky to be traveling around touring with my best friends. Whether it's playing music or putting together something for my friends, I've always been passionate about the power of a shared experience. As some of you know, touring around the country involves a lot, and to me, good coffee is essential to staying fueled while on the road. After consulting with friends in the business, I decided to give it a go. My goal is simple: get coffee to people all over who need it the most. So whether you play music, love music, or your passion lies somewhere else, D-Law Coffee is here for you. Fuel the music.
Hey, yo, neighbors. We are on our way to catch the final day, or at least the final music day, of the Grassfire Festival, Grassfire 2025. This year it happened over 4th of July weekend. I was with the family last night watching fireworks and whatnot, but decided to head up to this festival today to check out at least one day of it. It looks really, really great this year. So selfishly, one of the things I forgot to mention, I grew up around Amish country, right? You get the best damn donuts in Amish country. So as you're going into Garrettsville, find any Market Express, find any convenience store that has a bakery, get you some Amish cream sticks and or donuts, because they're delicious. Cream is so good. So Nelson Ledges Quarry Park occupies about 250 acres of land that is made up of forests and meadows, and it's got dramatic quartz and sandstone ledges that actually give it its name and it's famous for. And that's because it's a spring-fed swimming quarry. So it's an old rock quarry with a depth of about 30 feet. There's some deeper spots, there's some more shallow spots, but it's crystal clear, beautiful water, and it's up in the northern part of Ohio. It's got primitive camping with over 400 campsites. Some are lakeside, others are forested. Most of them are in the forest, which is great, or there's some in open meadows. But it's definitely a place that you want to tent camp if you go, because that is really the experience of Nelson Ledges Quarry Park, is walking around the tent campground in the trees. The swimming area features a lifeguarded beach, which is really nice because I will give them props. Their lifeguard staff is on it. I used to guard open water in Northeast Ohio when I was in high school and in college, and it's not an easy job. Their lifeguards definitely do a great job with it. They have great guards out on kayaks the whole time, and they really do a great job. So very, very impressed with that. It is very important to remember this, though. If you're going to Nelson Ledges Quarry Park, make sure to download and sign the waiver before you get there. You can get to that on the website. You're going to want to sign it and then print it out and bring it with you, or simply take a picture of it on your phone and keep it on your phone, especially if you're going to go back multiple times. NOQP operates kind of on a first come, first serve basis for camping. Clearly, if you've bought festival tickets, that's going to get you in the door, but those can sell out pretty quick. Forget trying to call or email the venue for more info. It is incredibly tricky to get any type of a response, especially via email. And if you call when they're busy, and then there's a reason for this. It's not that they're being jerks. It's that they are super stretched and checking all these people in. So if you call when they're trying to check people in for a weekend, you're probably going to get hung up on because they got a million other things they're doing and nobody else answers the phone. So just be advised of that. The reviews of the venue are a little bit polarized if you look on Google and some other places. So some of the guests and staff report the staff is super friendly and helpful and responsive, and they praise the vibe of the venue for being very welcoming. Others highlight inconsistent rule enforcement. Some people talk about how staff was unfriendly to them and that they didn't have very good conflict resolution. And again, reviews are all over the board, so you never know what's actually true or if somebody just got pissed off. But do your homework and check that out. I will say that from a basic facility standpoint, the porta johns are typically clean. They're all over the place. Again, rustic. They have more permanent outdoor restrooms that are kind of like glorified outhouses, but they are kept clean and they're always available. So that's what they're referring to when they say rustic. Again, kind of being, someone who's a couple hours away from Nelson Ledges Quarry Park, I do get the feeling that there is kind of a quote unquote in crowd that exists at the venue. And that's because this is a normal campground for a lot of people. For some, it's an all summer, all year campground. The vendors are seasonal, so they show up and they're there pretty much the entire summer. So yeah, I would consider this like a permanent to semi-permanent campground that also happens to have festivals. So if you are one of those regular campers who is there all the time, then every couple of weeks you're going to have all these strangers coming in, taking over your land. So I get that there's kind of a regulars and an outsiders and guests feel to Nelson Ledges Quarry Park the more I go there. And I do think it's important that people know that, because as somebody who might come to one or two festivals at that venue per year, make sure you keep that in mind. Make sure you realize that this is people's like home campground and this is where they spend every weekend and you are a guest. So be respectful of that, because if it was your venue, if it was your home campground and you had all these people coming in for festivals, you might feel a little bit like, you're being invaded as well. But for the most part, everybody I've talked to that's a regular up there from a camper perspective is super, super cool. But just be respectful that, there's a lot of people that spend a lot more time up there than your regular festival goer. The food and merch vendor situation at the Ledges is really interesting because there is this kind of permanent shakedown street that really kind of lines out all the food and merch vendors. And some of these folks have been fixtures at the park for more than a decade, right? All these vendors have to apply in advance. And from what I've heard in talking to vendors, it is tricky to get in. You kind of have to be accepted, and only one of each specialty is permitted. So they try to keep the vendor mix pretty diverse and not have a lot of overlap, which I do respect. Festivals. I did have the chance to talk with a guy named Hans this year, who I thought was really interesting because Hans actually was selling used guitars. And he has a really interesting story. And this guy was selling them left and right. And it dawned on me, I'm like, how cool is that for inspiring campfire jams? Of, be the guy that brings the guitar for that first person to go, you know what, I'm going to spend $50, get myself a guitar and start teaching myself to play around a campfire.
My name is Hans.
Your name's Hans, and you do Hans's Strings and Things, correct?
Hans's Strings and Things. Yep.
How long have you been vending here at Nelson?
I've been vending here since 2017, but I just started the used guitars at the end of last season.
Yeah,
With
that's
about
cool.
five festivals left in the season.
And do you find a lot of people, like, maybe they forgot their guitar or they just want to start, they're at the festival and they're like inspired?
I'm getting a lot of people that just want to start and that have never played before. I just sold a guitar not
Wow.
10 minutes ago to a kid that wanted to learn to play.
Yeah.
And I tell them these are great guitars to learn on.
Yeah.
And I get other people that come in here and can just rip, and they do, and they buy a guitar.
That's cool.
And yeah, I get them all over the spectrum.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I encourage them all.
Yeah, I was going to say that definitely, I like the idea of like bringing the instruments to the festival so people can, buy them.
Exactly.
Here. That's cool.
I'm hoping that one of these kids will take one and go out and learn it and become the next Jimi Hendrix,
Yeah.
It could happen.
Yeah, that's really cool. Jackie, what's the name of your place here?
Impactful Energy.
Impactful Energy. So like I just bought a lemonade and I had like one sip. It was super delicious.
Okay.
But
Love
you
that.
throw like caffeine and a bunch of stuff in it. So tell me about like the mix and what you
Yeah.
guys do.
It's B vitamins, ginseng, and guarana.
Okay.
Super revitalizing. We're here to uplift people. And in this environment, people get dehydrated or depleted.
Yeah.
And we're just here to hydrate people and give them good vibes, serve them up. My goal is always to have people leave here feeling better than they did when they walked in.
That's cool. Yeah. And we're here today, it's like 90 degrees and people are like, going crazy down by the stage. So
yeah,
keeping people hydrated is good.
Matters.
What else do you do here? What's all this too? There's like these signs up for like, you do coaching or what is that?
I'm a master transformation life coach and I help hold people accountable while also building confidence. So the thing I love about life coaching, it's very different than therapy. It actually is done by using breath work, meditations, and guided psychological sequencing. It's kind of like when we're asked the right question at the right time in the right mindset with the right tone. It's amazing what we can accomplish on the other end.
That's so crazy. And like, so you do this, you do that. Those two things, maybe they kind of go together. Do they go together, or how do you get into both?
When I started, I asked myself for so long, like, how am I going to do both? Am I going to figure this out? Should I quit one and go all in on the other? Everybody is out here talking about like a niche, and my niche is honestly music festivals and just, serving humanity at this point. And, who doesn't want a healthy beverage? And I actually stopped drinking alcohol when I turned 21 years old.
Okay.
So I love the alternative. I love having something being able to go somewhere and order something that is non-alcoholic and still kind of having that experience is really amazing. And then on top of that, it's really just the community that brought me to when I came out to Nelson Ledges Quarry Park for the first time. I saw pure magic. What's out here is quartz. Yeah. So it's like when I had that experience for the first time and I learned about Shakedown, I learned about like the woods and just met so many people that weren't necessarily from my hometown and like didn't know me for like my past, but that I was able to write my future. And when I came here and I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I kind of thought I wanted to go to school for therapy. And at that point I was like, I don't really want to prescribe medication. It's not really the environment I want to be in. And I'm really grateful that I took that leap. Yeah. And so life coaching, I do a lot of that online on Zoom. And then I have the Confidence Collective launching in October, which will be a subscription-based community online, so we can kind of take this and hold each other accountable, because what's tricky about this environment is that this is like a container space. So it's like we get all hyped up, full of love, our cup is filled when we're here. However, when we go home into the real world, sometimes it can be hard to integrate that.
Thank you. That's Brother Rob right there on the 5-string banjo. He's the Banjo Player of the Year, bluegrass music, folks.
From a navigation standpoint, Nelson Ledges Quarry Park is one of the trickiest, most complicated venues to navigate because the giant thing, the whole thing is like a giant labyrinth, right? It's pretty sprawling. There's a lot of it in the woods and it's got variable terrain. You're going to go from rocks to sand to roots to forest to mud to whatever. So make sure you plan for that, you know, especially on the cliffs and that stuff. Make sure you bring the right shoes. Make sure that, you know, you're prepared to walk around because you will do a lot of walking there. There is camp by car throughout as long as the spaces exist. So you might have to get kind of creative. I like to personally go up with a minivan and camp in a minivan at Nelson Ledges Quarry Park because I can just pull that right up to just about anywhere in the campground, find a little spot to park it. That's my parking spot. I sleep in the van. I throw a chair out back. We're good. Here's a quick video on what my setup actually looks like when I go to Nelson Ledges. This is from last year, but I am still using the same setup because it works really well. The inside of these things are when you fold everything down. Notice that when you fold everything down, it's all flat. So this is going to work out just fine. I'm going to be sleeping in here for tonight and tomorrow night. But not even bringing a tent to this one. This is like, you know, make your own camper van type of a deal. This is the finished product. So everything I need for about 2 nights. Got my cooler, got a little heater, always bring a generator. Get a small generator like this one, it's great. Scooter chair, little table that's foldable. Got my power supply down here. Got my gear, all in a freaking Chrysler Pacifica. Oh, even got a little thing to make my sandwiches on and use as a flat tabletop to balance my cameras. The one thing that I can say is that there's a lot of passion that goes into Nelson Ledges Quarry Park, especially from the owners. I've never had the chance to meet Evan. I've tried to get in touch with him for a couple times, but again, it's hard to get in touch with these folks. I do think that they're out moving around all the time. But I did have the chance to see Evan kind of come off the stage and come onto the stage and introduce Del McCurry Band, which was, you know, one of the evening bands for the night I was there at Grassfire. And, you know, this guy is just, he bleeds passion and energy for not only his venue, but for also the idea of music festivals, which is something that I've harped on a lot on this show, the power of music festivals. But rather than put words in his mouth, I'm just going to let him tell you on his own.
What I saw here over the 30 years is the presence of the Lord. And I'll tell you why. I see it in all of you. I've never seen so much unnecessary kindness. Unnecessary. Just like, I'm like, wow, that was nice. Wow, that was nice. Looking out for each other's kids, looking out for each other. It's been really rough for all of us with this political bullshit and whatever. And I think the Lord reached down, put us here for this, because it's all behind us. And what I see also out of all y'all is nobody's worrying about what bullshit they got to do next weekend or what shit they did 10 years ago. Everybody's here this weekend having a great time, and that's what it's all about. I'm so glad you're here with me. Anyway, and that's a frickin' enough for me for this weekend. I can't say enough about these guys. I was thinking of this. It's the guy who smiles all the time when he's talking to you. It's wild. Anyway, please give that Nelson Ledges welcome back to Mr. Del McCurry, the Del McCurry Band.
What is it about the festival vibe environment that makes people feel comfortable with it, do you think?
Ooh. All right. So I think first It's production.
Okay.
So I give a lot of love and respect to people that throw the show,
Okay.
right? So production, it is such a responsibility when you are putting on something that has a high volume of people,
Yeah.
right? So I give it up to the staff. I give it up to the people that are coming to put on a show.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, it goes like to the vendors down here on Shakedown. It is our responsibility to have a service or to have a product that people want, because people are expecting that. Then when they go home, they can have something that reminds them of that space.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I think it's really the ability to break outside of the box of what is expected to be normal. So it's like out here, you can walk around with a stuffed animal,
Right.
backpack,
Yeah.
with a duck, or yelling, boo gang, boo gang. What are you doing over there? I'm throwing a boo gang, you boo gang. You know what I mean? You can really allow your personality to fly. And I think that is what matters. And if we can bring that into society a little bit more, I think that'll help. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of different components out here of what makes something work and what makes this environment work. But I really think it starts from who is responsible for the gathering of whatever community is starting. So I give it out to the artists. I give it out to, a lot of people come up here and they're like, oh, the work is so easy. And it's like not understanding, we haul ice, we haul water. Hanging out up here is actually a small percentage of what we do on the back end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and then for people to give up their own free time and money and to come support, there's a lot of components that make this work.
If you don't want me, I'll run until you move on. Lady love, if you need a reason, and maybe your dreams are just out of season. Flame of blood, well, you wouldn't understand. You hide it in your heart, you don't hold it in your hand. If you don't want me, if you don't want me, if you don't want me, I'll run until you move on.
But that is all we have for this week, neighbors. Special thanks to the folks at Nelson Ledges Quarry Park for allowing me to run around with cameras, albeit rogue, and shoot this recap. Would love to talk to you guys. If you ever catch this episode, please feel free to reach out. I've talked to a lot of your staff, and I'd love to find out more about, the inner workings of Nelson Ledges. But I do want to give thanks to Jackie and Hans as well for the interviews. You can find Jackie on Instagram, TikTok, and a few other spots. And I've got that link to the description. And if I can figure out how to find Hans online, I'll put those links there as well. If you did not catch last week's festival documentary drop, go ahead and check that out. The film is Inside Incarceration, a music and tattoo festival documentary. And that's on the documentaries page on musicfestivalspodcast.com/festival documentaries. Or you can just look for the tab at the top in the navigation that says festival documentaries. While you are on the site, make sure to subscribe to the Neighborhood Monthly newsletter. That's actually coming out again next month. This is going to contain news and updates on festivals that are coming down the pike, special features with interviews and other things that I don't necessarily put on the podcast or in the documentaries. And then you're also going to get some discount codes from our affiliates, and those include Outdoorsy.com, Inicum Electric Scooters, Melted Mind Designs, Cast Magic, CapCut, Opus Clip, Hoam, and Custom Made Casino. As always, thanks to D-Law Coffee and Drury Anderson for supporting the podcast. Get your own bag of D-Law Coffee at dlawcoffeecompany.com and fuel the music. And next week, we have a special guest who is a friend of the show coming on to tell us about Lazy Jam #7 that's happening in Hartsville, Indiana at the end of September. My friend OJ Wilson and fellow hookah head is going to be on the show to talk to us about that festival. This year's headliners at Lazy Jam 7 are going to be none other than Acoustic Hookah as well as Magnolia Boulevard, who I'm super excited about. Magnolia played last year kind of on an impromptu thing. They weren't originally on the lineup, but they ended up getting added at the end, and they blew the roof off the place. They were definitely the band of the festival. They loved them. If you want to find out more about Magnolia Boulevard, go ahead and check out Roots Music Ramblers. So this is my friend Jason and Frank's podcast, Francesca, and it's a great podcast on Americana music, up and coming artists and whatnot. But they just interviewed Maggie from Magnolia Boulevard. Fucking interview was a hoot. She's awesome. But check that out, Roots Music musicrambler.com and give those guys a shout if you do, because they do a nice podcast there. If you are listening to the audio podcast of this first, thank you very much. Please go ahead and rate the show on Spotify and Apple when you're there, and then head directly over to the YouTube channel and subscribe there to make sure that you get all of the videos that accompany these podcasts, the video podcasts themselves, as well as the festival documentaries. That is really where the focus of the whole channel is heading. Didn't anticipate it going that way, but apparently people seem to be digging it. So we're going to do more of those. You can join the conversation on those with your neighbors in the comments on YouTube or at the Music Festivals Podcast Facebook page. I always like hearing from you guys there. Or find me on Instagram at Neighbor Nate Fests. That's right down there, Neighbor and 8 Fests. Or you can just find me at Nate Riggs. That's my normal, family pictures and things like that. But I do appreciate all of you who tune into the show each week. It's incredible that you're still on this journey with me as we kind of go out and explore the culture and the times and the happenings and the vibes of music festivals. As always, I am your host, Neighbor Nate, and I hope to be your neighbor at a festival very soon.